What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com. The trend amongst all the manufacturers as of late has been bigger, bigger, bigger. You see the G2X 4-inch display, Evo 3D 4.3-inch display, and the behemoth Samsung Infuse 4G with a 4.5-inch display. It seems like everything's getting bigger, 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 but there's one company that's going smaller. The HP Veer 4G. I was tempted to say smaller, 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 but there's only one. The HP Veer 4G, it's available now at AT&T, and it's running WebOS. Yeah, it's another WebOS device, finally, after the Palm Pre 2. So this is coming out. The Pre 3 is on its way, which is a bigger device, but this is an interesting little compact device. Let me get it up here close to the camera so you can see. QWERTY keyboard, still a full QWERTY keyboard despite the size, but it's a pocket-sized device, especially when you compare it to something like the HTC Sensation. Much difference in the size, or a lot of difference in the size. Is this a device for you? Should you go with something like this, or should you go with a more conventional device like the Infuse 4G, if you can even call that conventional? We'll find out that more in the review. But first, special thanks to our guys at Best Buy. They always hook us up with phones so we can give them to you in the One Paw Bandit game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you hook up your Veer 4G, get your email, get your web, and more. And you can dial directly from the actual keyboard, from the pad down here, or you can dial using the touchscreen, and that's quick and easy to do. You can also add favorites, you can call voicemail, and then you can see your missed calls and all calls as well from here. Just a smaller screen to work with, so that's something that's a little bit different. Let's take a look at the app catalog. You can see they've gotten rid of almost everything. The only time I saw Palm was when I was setting up the app catalog for the first time, and I clicked on it and it said Palm App Catalog Terms and Conditions. It's the only time I've seen the name listed, but you can see not a lot of changes here. As you can see, scroll down, you've got a couple of different apps from here. We can download Wells Fargo Mobile, for example. We'll just do that as an example. We'll go down here, we'll download it for free, and once I download, you can see it's going to throw it right down. You can see down here this little status bar, will turn into a status bar at least, and install. So install Wells Fargo Mobile. Now if I let that go untouched, you'll see here what will happen. It'll disappear. So that down there where it said Wells Fargo installed, you'll see when I get a text message to this device, an email, they'll all pop up in this little easy notifications. I mean, WebOS really pioneered subtle notifications, and Android picked up to it, and then finally iOS with iOS 5 is picking up to it. But just to scroll out of that for a second, when you get a text message, it'll pop up down here in the bottom of the display. The display will move up, if you will, and if this were activated, I would send a test text message to show you. But you can either scroll over to get rid of those, or you can click on them to activate. Now the interesting thing with this device, because this device is so small, with a 2.6-inch display, you get more than a few notifications, and it's going to take up a lot of the screen. So you've got to be pretty prompt about moving your notifications, either getting rid of those or waiting for those to go away. But anyway, back to the app catalog. Here you have your star ratings, reviews, share, your pictures, your description, developer home, support, and more. And then, of course, your featured apps. We can browse categories if we want to. We can see business, for example. And yeah, I will tell you, they need new hardware. They're in desperate need of new hardware. But WebOS, to me, in terms of the most multitasking-friendly operating system, this is it. So we can see here, we'll just do, go down here and take a look at some of the different ones. But we installed Wells Fargo. So you can see now in the applications menu, Wells Fargo is installed down here. So we can load it right up, and it pops up quick and easy. Now we can go from there. We can load up Calendar, for example. Let me make sure none of my appointments pop up, because I can't remember which which email address I have synced to this. But you can see Calendar popped up as well. Sorry to keep doing that. But here's the calendar. No real changes here. You can see all, and you can see Palm Profile. And then if I had separate calendars in my various email addresses, like Old Man McTweety at Gmail, Calendar, etc., those would appear right there as well. And I can either separate and see all calendars, or I can separate by the actual profile or the various calendars I have as part of my email application. So I want to show you the email interface, but first, switching it from portrait to landscape, which I think is kind of funny, you can see that the actual card itself moves as well. And the transition effects are pretty quick, which it would lead me to believe that this device, despite it having an 800 megahertz processor, not something wild like a 1 gigahertz or 1.2 gigahertz processor, it's still relatively speedy for this device. So we'll load this up and bring it over here, and you can see the email interface. You can see I can reply, I can forward, or reply all, I can forward, or I can throw it in the trash. And of course my settings up here, I can mark as unread, set flag mood folder. So you have a lot of different options, either via this menu or from the email itself. But all I have to do is swipe up and get rid of that. Now one thing Palm, HP, whatever you want to call it, WebOS does a good job of is with this little thing called Just Type. So I can type in old, for example, and bring up Old Man, my contact that I have. And it brings up a couple of different things. It brings up the contact. It brings up some suggestions from Google, or an option to suggest stuff from Google. Emails, 2 emails with old in them somewhere, somehow tied to old. And then I can launch and search Google Maps, Wikipedia, Twitter, Palm App Catalog, which you can see it's not HP right there. Has not changed yet. Quick actions, new message, email, memo. So you get a lot of different options where you just type something in and it brings it up. So you're like, I sent an email with the word tree, hot green tree in it or something. It's a sexy green tree. Type in sexy green tree. It brings up the email, and then it offers me the ability to suggest via Google. So it's kind of cool for those times where you got that email, you just can't remember who you sent it to or when you sent it, but you remember certain words, type them in, and if it's stored on the device, you can easily access it. So that's pretty cool. What haven't we covered? The camera. That's one we haven't covered. 5 megapixel camera here. This is going to be nothing to write home about, nothing too exciting, but you can see, we'll show up this T-Mobile pin, for example, and we'll try and get the logo in play here, and we'll take that picture, and there is, to my knowledge, no autofocus on this. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing any autofocus, unfortunately. We'll take a picture over here of all these phones that are sitting over here. I can go back to those, and you can see these phones that are keeping the cloth in place while we shoot this video. So again, from a distance, not the best picture. This is not going to be the best phone because obviously it doesn't have a flash. So it's not going to be the best phone for taking pictures. So keep that in mind. That said, quick snapshot, good daylight, or you're in an area like this where it's well lit with a million different lamps above me, you're going to be fine. You get in a low lit situation, this is not going to be the ideal one for you. Also, as you know, this is one place WebOS kind of lacks. There's no real editing options in the camera. I mean, you can either take the picture or you can switch over to the camcorder and start shooting from there. There are no real options to adjust the color, do black and white or anything like that, adjust the ISO, white balance, anything like that. So something to keep in mind that's not available. And you can see that when I pulled out like that, the camera, although it does rotate, goes away. So not the best camera in the world, but still decent for a mid-range smartphone for somebody that's not going to take a ton of pictures. And last but not least, the YouTube application. We'll take a look at that, and you can see it's this kind of native application that comes with it. And again, let's see if it transitions while we back out of it. Let's see if it transitions from portrait to landscape. Doesn't look like it does. Oh well, but a lot of the apps do. Much more coverage to come on the HP Veer 4G on PhoneDog.com. In short, it's a really awesome WebOS device. If you've been waiting, you really want a WebOS, you've been working with the Palm Pre on Sprint or the Palm Pre 2 on Verizon, on AT&T, you want something new, and you're willing to switch if you're not on AT&T, this may be the device for you. It's running the latest version of WebOS. It's a decent device. It's just very, very small, so it's going to appeal to a niche demographic to me, people that want a tiny device or people that have small hands. What I really am waiting for and really excited about is the Palm Pre 3, which is going to bring a ton of speed enhancements and going to bring a larger display, a larger high-resolution display, and a bigger keyboard. And even though it looks like the original Pre in a lot of ways, it's some improvements on the hardware and on the software front. So I'm excited about that, but if you need your WebOS fix, this is a decent little device. I just wish it didn't have a proprietary charging port, and I wish it were a little bit bigger. So much more coverage to come on PhoneDog, but be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/PhoneDog. We're starting a new giveaway in a couple of days, so be on the lookout for that at facebook.com/PhoneDog. Be sure to follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron, and on Facebook at my fan page at facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching. Let's see what we can find on YouTube. PhoneDog HTC Evo 3D review. I think I know those hands. I think I know that desk too. Does that desk look familiar? Look familiar? I think it does. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.